A slight fever still lingered at the fingertips where I had left everything. The last thing I scooped up with my palm after having reeled in the philosophy was an inexpressible fading. Even after stripping away the symbols and stripping away the meaning, it still blurs. It weaves resignation, enshrines anonymity, and looks up to a single gleam of light. But no matter how much we discarded and scraped away, only pain bloomed in the margins. A transparent lamentation that pulses even after the marrow of the bones has been scraped away. A lamentation that can withstand abstraction. No matter what is discarded, no matter what is abandoned, what seeps out is all that is. There is no prayer, no despair, no future, only a nameless blot that trembles gently here. A spark of passion releases a fleeting glimmer, and its reverberations are consigned to the eternal void. The pathos lurking in our hearts loses its concrete form and returns to the poetic sentiment of abstraction through the ephemeral but inevitable act of abstraction. Fragments of distant memories become a vague glow, and between the intertwining meaning and meaninglessness, they become layers upon layers of desolation. In this complex weave, seemingly contradictory emotions are discarded, and at the same time, new meanings for the future are latent. The shattered fragments of sentimentality are reconstituted again and again, and the remnants of the light that sinks into the dusk mingle with distant memories. All pain and joy are discarded as the innocent shadow of innocence, a secret one-time proof of existence. The scalpel of reason is wielded coldly. The flesh of the event is scraped away and the skeleton of the concept is revealed. The torrent of emotions is filtered, and individual tears are supposed to be sublimed into universal crystals through distillation. This is the work of the intellect, a purifying ritual called discarding. Thus, raw grief, personal loss and anguish that can only be named are pushed aside for the sake of higher awareness. Pace is discarded. It is as if it were a search for universal law or a procedure to attain tranquility. However, is there anything that slips through the mesh of such discarding? The residue of it that should have been discarded, classified and labelled with a nameplate. Or perhaps there is a kind of sadness that comes from the very act of discarding. It is as if the more one tries to create a perfect vacuum, the more the last molecules cling to the walls of the vessel. The final, or in other words, final pathos is still there, even if it has been subjected to the manipulation of abstraction. It is the pain of being deprived of a narrative. It is the sorrow of existence that seems to be purely cultivated, which remains after discarding individual episodes, specific causes, and concrete objects. The chemical formula of tears can be elucidated, but the inexplicability of the existence of the weeping subject remains. We may be able to obtain statistics of death, but we cannot quantify the sense of emptiness brought about by the absolute demise of death. Discarding is the act of narrowing one's focus and at the same time, intentionally excluding something from one's field of vision. However, something that should have been eliminated may assert its presence more strongly, like a shadow or in the form of absence. In the end, pathos is the fragrance of finitude clothed in existence itself. It is the quiet shiver that our psyche, in its constant search for meaning, feels when it is touched by the absence of meaning or by something beyond meaning. The intellectual operation of abstraction avoids dealing directly with the pathos. However, the trajectory of this avoidance itself suggests the location of the pathos, as if a village erased from a map evokes memories of the place. Rather than remaining even after being discarded, the contours paradoxically emerge only through the filter of discarded images. It is like a keynote base of existence that transcends the level of personal feelings. No matter how high the intellect soars, it always lies on the horizon, a silent, vast landscape of sorrow before words. What we find at the end of the process of abstraction is not only an organized system of knowledge, it is the inescapable tinge of pathos that seeps out from the crevices of that system, or from the foundation itself. It is a shadow that cannot be discarded, the ultimate proof that we are human. The beasts that sniff out emptiness still stroke their hooves over the ruins today. We know that meaning will eventually be stripped away, but the game of betting on who will be the first metaphor to be discarded still heats up life. When we squeeze a drop of essence out of a billion bubbles, we should have realized that even the essence is part of the bubbles. An irreversible sorrow for the disappearance of everything. That is the purest residue of the end of abandonment.